Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had gonna
All right, little pivot here. What did Quang do to deserve an attempted decapitation?
The shot heard around the world?
Yeah.
Well, you could tell from my reaction, I was not privy to that was about to happen. So, um, yeah, I guess a little word on that. I don't know how many people also saw the shot that Travis took on me in the previous round, where he bagged me
Did
pretty
not.
high. And Ben also went for a peg on Travis after that. The one on Quang, obviously everyone saw that one. But it really stems down to this. There's an unwritten rule in professional pickleball that maybe not everyone is aware of. Pegging is part of the game, and I am totally fine with pegging, but the etiquette is you keep it shoulders and below. And if you go higher than that, it's considered headhunting, and you really put a player at risk, and also it's generally just not a very smart play to do. I mean, getting your head out of the way is generally a lot easier than your body. So certain players follow that unwritten rule, and other ones, especially the newer ones, don't seem to really follow that very much. And especially with the very powerful paddles that are coming along, it can get almost disrespectful in a way that you're going against what we've all sort of agreed upon, that we're not going to do that. And it's sort of like having nuclear weapons. We have these paddles, and you can go after each other with them. Sure, you can,
What
but
an
you have to
analogy.
remember the other person has nuclear weapons too. And that's the point that I think Ben was trying to make. Look, we're not saying you can't do it. You can, but just know that you are risking some form of retaliation. Like, if you're going to try to bag us high over and over and headhunt, then we're going to do it too. But if you don't do it and you play the game the right way, we're probably not going to do it. And in my opinion, we can have a gentleman's agreement to some extent where pegging is cool, but headhunting is not. And if we keep it in that realm, I think the game is better off. And certainly, I think it's a symptom of the paddles being too powerful, because you're putting the reward of pegging at such a high premium where you can do it so successfully, because you have 3/10 of a second to get out of the way, kitchen line to kitchen line. Like, you can peg people basically at will with these paddles now. And the fact that you don't see more of it is probably more surprising than anything else. And I think it's kind of goes back to that unwritten rule that we all have of headhunting is not something that we really do for obvious reasons, because I don't think the sport should be dodgeball. That it's just sort of disrespectful to the sport. And getting back to what Ben did, I think that he really wanted to scare Quang and show him, look, we can do what you're doing too. So play nice, play the game the right way, and we don't have to do this. And he was not trying to injure Quang. He was trying to send a message not just to Quang but to the entire field. If you headhunt against us, you are posing the risk of us retaliating. And I think the threat of doing it is something that will hopefully hold more players back from egregiously pegging high, which many, many players are guilty of these days. And I certainly hope that nobody gets seriously injured in the coming months, not just in matches that we can test in, but other people. Because honestly, I'm a little worried for somebody losing an eye with as hard as people are hitting the ball with these paddles these days, with as close as we play. And I personally would never consider playing without protective eyewear at this point, because the one place you can really, really get injured is a direct shot to the eye. And I'm usually more worried about the deflections from my partner's paddle, which happen a lot because people are late on a counter and it deflects straight into your partner. So I know that I've taken precautions, for the reasons that I've just described, but not everyone does that. And I think with this sort of new standard of, hey, screw the etiquette, let me just go for a peg as high as possible because I know they can't get out of the way. Inevitably, somebody's going to miss high and it's going to hit a very bad spot. Somebody's going to get really injured, and then we're going to take action. And I think that that's taking action too late. If somebody loses an eye and then we put in protective eyewear as a mandate, or we take paddle power back, at that point, it's beyond the point that it should have gotten to. And I really, really hope that doesn't happen.
So, Zane, I just want to give you a little round of applause. You maintain a certain level of
Colin said
maturity there.
pegging a lot, and I
There's a
didn't
lot of pegging
laugh
talk.
out loud.
You kept it together for the most part. I saw a little bit of a crack there, but good for you. All right, so Zane,
No.
you
So if I have to
tweeted.
boil it down, Colin is saying just use protection when pegging.
Okay. All right.
Okay, no. All seriousness.
Wait, Zane,
It's an unwritten.
I want to read your
Well,
tweet, and then I want you to kind of expand on it and then react based on what Colin had said, because I think that gives
sure.
an alternate perspective to what you had offered. So Zane,
100%. Yeah,
you had
absolutely.
tweeted, "I'm about as pro body bag as anybody, but this one seems slightly distasteful. Hit it at the person as hard as you want, so long as it's not at the head." In fairness to Ben, Quang ducked and the ball grazed the net, which made the height look worse. So, given Colin's explanation there, you still feel like you would tweet the same thing? Would you adjust it at all? Does that change your perspective?
No, I don't think Colin would say that that wasn't a distasteful speed up. He just said that it was a message to the tour that like if you're going to do this, we're going to do it as well. So he was mentioning that the there is an unwritten rule. It's an unwritten rule that we don't go for heads, but it is very very well defined. It is something that all of the established players know. Like if I have a waist high ball. I don't think there's anybody on the tour or very few players on tour that are going to be offended if I rope it as hard as I can at you. But in a spot where I know that the head is not part of my window of where I'm realistically going to hit the ball. The lower you speed the ball up from, the more likely it is that the head is going to be part of the window. I think Ben sped that ball up too low to realistically be able to avoid Kwang's head. So I do think it was a distasteful speed up, but now with the message, like yeah, if you're doing it or other people are doing it, so can I. I think that I don't disrespect that message, but if we're just evaluating the one speed up on at face value, I would say yeah, that was a shit shot.
Yeah, and I think you brought up something important, and I just want to be clear. Like, I have nothing against what you're saying in terms of the pegging. Pegging is fair game. It's a big part of the game, and I think it opens up interesting possibilities where a lot of times you'll fake bagging somebody in order to open up their feet. And you just have a higher percentage shot when you're doing that if you're aiming for the body or the torso. And I'm never going to complain about that. Sure, if you get hit with the ball, you might be frustrated that you didn't see that coming. But at the pro level, I mean, we're there to win, and if that is included in the winning formula, then you should do it. But like you said, all the top players know that aiming for somebody's head is off the table. And I feel like some of the newer players like Kwang don't abide by that. They literally just try to blister it as high and as hard as possible, particularly on counters. So you have to look at the other person's lead up behavior as well. If he's trying to do that over and over to both of us, and you expect us to just sit there and not take any sort of action, and the shot that Ben hit was really it was message sent versus I'm trying to peg you in the head. And ultimately he missed him and he didn't even get that close to him. And sure, if you myopically look at that one shot, you can say, oh, that was distasteful. But you also have to look at the lead up to where not just in that match, but in previous matches, Kwang has been egregiously going after both of us. And we've just had enough of it. Like, if you're going to do that over and over, we're going to send a message back that you better cut that out or we're going to retaliate.
Did you stare down his dad? I feel like to really send the message, you gotta stare down the dad on the sideline.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no comment on that.
Colin's
Um,
face said it all. He was like, "What the fuck just happened?" Your face was the best part of that entire thing. Colin's just like, and then walks back like nothing happened after that. But there was a few seconds of
Yeah,
like,
I knew I knew Ben was not happy about some of the higher ones earlier in the match, but I didn't know that it was gonna happen like that.
mhm,
I thought it was
yeah.
surprising that Zane, when you did that poll, 61% of people said part of the game,
Yeah,
39%
for sure. I
had
thought
some
I thought
class.
Ben was gonna get I thought Ben was gonna get much more hammered by the pickleball tweet or voters. So basically, Colin, I asked my followers if Ben's speed up was part of the game or have some class, basically. And this is before I gave any sort of opinion as well. 61% said they thought it was part of the game. 39% said have some class. Which did surprise me. I kind of thought that the general pickleball population was going to be a little bit less pro body bag, I guess, or pro not even necessarily headhunting, but just
Headhunting?
going after players.
Yeah, I think we also have to remember that very few people have been exposed to the highest level and sort of that unwritten rule that we sort of have amongst each other that we're not going to do certain things. And also, people have not experienced how hard you can truly hit a pickleball. I mean, with a Yola Gen 3 paddle and Ben's 14 feet away from you and he's going to take a swing like that, until you're on the other side and you see exactly what you're dealing with, you might think a little bit differently about our unwritten rule after you've experienced that. So, I would definitely caution people a little bit on weighing in on that when you're not really qualified to do so.
Do you what are
I'd
what
be
are some
s-
other unwritten rules? Can you think of any off the top of your head?
Oh, that's a good one.
Like,
I think that if somebody's not ready, you're not going to serve the ball, because I remember times where after the score was called, somebody, I can't remember exactly what it was, either they tripped or they weren't quite ready. The ref had called the score prematurely, and I remember that we held off on serving. Or I think even at times if the ref made a bad call and they refused to overturn it, I think you and Althoff did that one time where you'll give the ball back by missing 2 serves in a row, because the ref would
oh yeah,
just
that's
like
done though.
that's done. Like, I'm just,
That
in
that,
years
that doesn't
past
happen anymore.
that does not happen anymore. But at a certain point, we sort of had an agreement amongst each other that if the ref is going to be, in order to have a fair play on the ball.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had gonna argue.